Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Aquarium Community Podcast. This is your host, Ryu. Today, I'm joined by a special guest, Sloan.
Hi, I'm Sloan, your favorite plant girl, also known as Skylar. Some of you know me by other names like Maddie. Just call me Sloan from now on. Um, that's about it. Here's what I do. I run a shop that sells very poor plants, and they may be shipped to you, may not be. Who knows? No, just kidding. I'm Skylar's Plant Shop. I have been selling plants for many years, and I mainly now just give people advice on their aquarium plants because some of you concern me. I don't have any YouTube channels or anything like that. I just kind of work on the sidelines and give you guys the best advice to keep your plants healthy. I also work with fish illness because you guys' fish get sick a lot. You guys need treatment help, which I'm always here to help with. Um, all right. That's my introduction. Say my favorite plants. We crack this bad boy open. I'm gonna have to go with anything from like the Eriocolon genus, but also I really like undiscovered plants. And then kind of basically how I got into the hobby. I was like a little young scene queen teenager. Like this was like 2008-ish. Like I was still using MySpace to talk about my aquariums. And uh, so yeah, I bust out the good old MySpace. And like my dad at the time owned aquariums. He's like, "Hey, you want a tank?" I'm like, "Yes." So I go in the forums. I'm like, "Hey, people on the internet, come get this young teenage girl with a dress and send me plants." And you know what? They bit that hook, line, and sinker. So it's a bit of a cast from the past episode. I'm not in aquarium community anymore. So if you guys have any questions about the podcast, hit me up on Discord or Instagram. No, don't hit me up on Instagram. Just hit me up on Discord. Sloan hashtag 9028. That is eight with an eight.
All right. That is Sloan, our special guest today. And of course, you guys know me. I'm Ryu. I'm your local average monster fish keeper. But let's dive right into it.
All
What?
right.
Let's talk about your plants, aqua
Oh,
plants.
my favorite things.
Yeah,
Okay.
your favorite item in the world. Uh, of course, let's start
Yeah.
off nice and simple, like easy plant list. Kind of, what do you recommend for the beginner, like person who has never kept plants before? So, complete newbie,
Um.
no CO2 plants.
But like this person just went to Petco, cracked open the good old Aqueon with an LED, like that type of newbie.
Yeah, we're talking like that the Walmart 5 gallon setup.
All right, first off, my first advice to that newbie, throw that fucking Walmart tank out the window. Get yourself an actual tank with a night crew light, okay? Night crews are incredibly cheap. Okay, you're gonna be throwing. I like to consider this. I've told people this with fish in the past. I use it for plants now too, because apparently people can't understand they are throwing money away. And these days, especially when money is important, you guys are buying all these plants and not working your little Aqueon tanks with a newt you stole from a local creek and you put some plants in. You want to know why? Because those LEDs are garbage. Get yourself a night crew light before I recommend any of these plants. Even a desk lamp would do you probably some more favor. No, no, don't even use a desk lamp, okay? Don't steal your mom's desk lamp. Buy yourself a night crew light. That just okay. Here we go. So the easiest plants you can possibly throw in an aquarium, here's my list. And you can get some of these outside. I don't recommend this to a complete newbie, but you generally can if you have at least some experience. Get yourself bleach. Bring a knife just in case something happens. Wouldn't want something happening to one of you. Um, so Lysomachia numalaria, also known as creaking, it's not creaking Jenny. Well, it does grow by creeks, so I guess we'll call it that. Creeping Jenny is the actual name though, because Jenny is a fucking creep. Um, it's this really easy plant. You can even get this at Home Depot. Any nursery probably sells it. You can probably even get some from your neighbor's porch. So if you're like really on the freaking bare bones budget, like your parents gave you two quarters because they still think that's like worth $20 in today's money, well, this one's gonna be your best way to do it. Maybe mow your late neighbor's lawn or something. Get yourself some of that creepy Jenny. I don't care how you do it, just do it. You put that stuff in your aquarium, it's gonna like look like vines for a little bit, and then we'll start growing this aquatic form. And the aquatic form is really pretty, and it grows ridiculously fast. Like you will blink, and all of a sudden your creeping Jenny's like across your entire house, and you're gonna be like, "Wow, how did that happen?" Because I recommended it. That's what happened. And my second method is Bacopa monieri. It's a very easy plant. Now, those two, here's the thing about common names, is why I use scientific names. You may think I'm speaking gibberish. No, because those are both called moneywort, okay? Lots of people don't understand this. Like when I said moneywort, it can either be creepy jetty or Bacopa monieri. Don't screw them up. Bacopa monieri, it's an ugly plant, that's for sure. It's disgusting and I want it out of my face 90% of the time, but does it grow fast? Yes. Yes, it does. Okay, like this stuff, it's probably one of the few plants I'd say will do just fine without fertilizer. And I've tested this theory before. I mean, I had like a little freaking classroom fish tank and like I just had a light on there and Bacopa monieri grew fine. It's a very resilient plant. All these are gonna be very resilient. Now, there's one plant I like to go against the grain for recommending. Anubias. Everyone says it's the easy plant. Yeah, it's easy, that's for sure. It's not gonna do you any favors though. Okay, that plant grows ridiculously slow. It's not really gonna help with your nutrients because you gotta remember when you're a beginner and you're getting plants, all those plants are gonna start melting in your aquarium and you could have a cycle crash. That's not very good for you. My biggest advice would be don't start with a lot of plants. Don't start with a little amount of plants. It's kind of the Goldilocks zone. You want to start with like a medium amount of plants that can keep up with your dosing, keep up with your water chain and stuff like that. Anyway, back to easy plants. So here's why I don't recommend Nubius. That plant grows super slow, really, really slow. And by the time there you notice a deficiency in a Nubius, that leaf was deficient a month ago. And you're chasing deficiencies, chasing deficiencies. It's really not good. It's more of a decoration plant. Now, Bucephalandra, I can recommend that one a bit more because Bucephalandra does grow faster than Anubias. No one believes me on that. It's true. And it does convert faster. It's not gonna do you like as much favors as a fast growing plant like Hornwort. Now, Hornwort, get that out of my face. Don't even talk to me about that, okay? But Anubias, I'm sorry, Bucephalandra. Jesus, what is wrong with me? Bucephalandra, it's gonna take up some nutrients. It's gonna take up some phosphate. Now, phosphate is very important because build up of that and you get all sorts of algae. Now, there's like a general debate: does phosphate really cause algae? Yes, it does. Here's why. Oftentimes there are too much phosphates and not enough nitrogen or potassium. See, potassium helps the plants bring up phosphate. This is basic botany. Um, and so there's oftentimes too much phosphate, and then algae does happen. So I do recommend getting yourself a nice aeroid because they really do like phosphates. Some aeroids I'd have to recommend. I'm gonna have to say an underrated one is really Aerodarium plants. They do well low tech. Like a lot of people are scared to get them, but no, they do great. Cryptocorin. Now, Cryptocorin, they are one of my favorite plants for beginners because they come in all sorts of colors, shapes, sizes, all that stuff. They're absolutely just fantastic for a beginner because you can get those like little Kryptonulata TCs from like PetSmart, Petco, whatever. They're like $10, not too much on your mom's wallet, not too much on the mom's credit card. They won't complain. Go there to get some dog treats, walk out with a plant. Sounds great. But not just one plant. Those things come with like 25 plants and they grow super duper fast. All of a sudden you get like five of those and you have yourself a nice crypt carpet. And I think that's like gotta be something that's really advantageful for a beginner. Now, tissue cultures, I don't typically recommend them for beginners because they are a bit more complex. And we'll get to complex plants later if like any of you are like high tech people like frothing out the mouth for me to talk about high tech plants. I'll get to that later. Um, and now Cryptocorin is a really resilient plant. It has a strong root system. So when it comes to tissue cultures, now I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't understand a lot of the science behind tissue cultures, but I do know that the roots are one of the most vital parts of tissue cultures. So that's why it's pretty essential that cryptocorin has strong roots and it will do well in pretty much any aquarium as a tissue culture. Um, and then my fifth, sixth, eighth, tenth, I don't know, recommendation at this point. Now Brendan in the server is gonna like jump out his seat for this. Didiplis diandra. It's a really beautiful plant, really, really super duper easy. You're not gonna have any issues growing this plant. It's very beautiful. You get some red tips and stuff like that. It's an awesome plant. Now going against one here, and everyone's and then this is where everyone's gonna be like, "Whoa, my grows fine." Ludwigia. Ludwigia sucks in low tech. Now you may be like, hold on, what are you talking about? Ludwigia does not do well in most low tech tanks for the newbie fish keeper. Now, for some people, it grows really well, but this all depends on the variant you get because usually there's super red variants and they require a bit more light. They require a bit more care. If you get yourself some wild like Ludwigia pallistus, like some from outside, you get off of a freaking person who has it, like Ludwigia pallistus, words are hard. Palus, Palistris.
There you go.
Uh, yeah, I finally spit that one out. If you get it in green form, it's gonna do great in your aquariums. Something to watch out for is I recommend you float the stems at the top of your tank, and that may sound like absolutely nuts, but it helps them grow roots, which is gonna be really helpful for you because if you get a freshly cut Lowigia and it doesn't have roots, what can happen is you get a bacterial infection. There's a spider on my ceiling, gross. It's getting that's not a joke. There's an imminent threat on my ceiling.
Ignore it. Ignore it. You'll be good. You'll be good.
It's coming. No, it's on my bed now, but you know what? We're gonna keep going. Stem necrosis. The stem starts turning black and like gooey, and it just becomes. It looks like venom, like puked on your Ludwigia. I'm just gonna be honest with you. And like the leaves all fall off, it disintegrates. It's just not worth it for the average keeper. So I definitely go against the grain on that one. Now dwarf Sagittaria, that's gonna be a really hot plant. But before we like continue into like this list of naming plants that I'm probably reading off of Google right now. Ryu, do you have any questions about these plants or anything like that before like I proceed?
uh, Not really, but there's definitely something I do want to say. Before all you die-hard aquarium plant keepers out there start talking, um, what is your opinion on water wisteria and vallisneria? Knowing that there's gonna be there's like a very minor amount, maybe not so minor, amount of people out there that will probably ask, "Where is it?"
I was actually gonna get to that plant next.
Oh, awesome, perfect.
Yeah, yeah. So Vallisneria, I don't recommend it for beginners. And you may be like, that's crazy, that's nuts. What are you talking about? Here's why. Vallisneria, it melts. It melts really hard. It's not like change. A lot of people have success with it, a lot of people don't. And there are reasons for this. It could be your water is a different pH than it likes. It's the Val is a big crybaby. And some of you may disagree with this. I don't blame you, but what's gonna happen with your Val in a gravel substrate is it's gonna shoot runners out of the gravel, and the runners are not gonna be messy, or the runners are gonna be messy and they're not gonna be neat and organized. So especially when you have that larger gravel, like if you own goldfish like I used to, and you have to have big gravel or else those dumb fucks who just like shove pebbles in their mouth like Fred Flintstone on a Saturday night. Um, you're gonna encounter like just valve running everywhere, like running up the tank. It's gonna look ugly. It's gonna melt. There's gonna be roots like super long into the soil. But on the other side of things, when it grows too well. Now, this is a case you get yourself some nice, like, harder water. Like, you want 7.6 pH for Valve, roughly. That's when you're going to get your, like, best growing conditions. It's, like, kind of neutral, but kind of not. Um, Valve does like harder water. I will admit to this. because just how I have seen it. There are certain species of Vallisneria that like softer water, like Vallisneria asiatica and Vallisneria spiralis in particular. But your standard Vallisneria americana, also known as jungle vowel, by the way, guys, it's Vallisneria americana. Go to your rivers and streams. Just get it there. As long as it's legal. I won't pay your bail money if you get arrested. So good luck, Snoopy. Um, I don't have the money for that. Seriously. Like, guys, I'm broke. Anyway, um, so uh yeah, I don't recommend Vow to the beginner keeper. Now there are great replacements for Vallisneria. I'm gonna throw a few of them out there. Cryptocorin spiralis, my love, my sweetheart, my gorgeous girl. Such an easy plant. But if you're looking for like really dense growth, Dwarf Sagittaria, it'll kiss you right on the lips. It'll kiss you goodnight. It'll read you a bedtime story. It'll be really nice growth for you. And that one does work really well even in larger gravel. Like it's gonna be more sparse compared to sand. I recommend sand, by the way, for growing aquatic plants. Everyone like says, "Oh, sand will suffocate your plants." No, no, it won't. If you go to any river, anyone who believes sand will suffocate your plants, go to a river and feel how thick the mud is at the bottom, and you'll notice very quickly that there are thousands of plants growing in that river. Unless it's the Jersey River. Anywhere on the East Coast, there's no plants growing in those rivers. And I would not touch any plants for those rivers. You probably get like mercury poisoning of the hands or something. I don't know. I'm not a medical doctor. Wait, am I? I can't remember. Anyway, so but water wisteria, it strikes like water wisteria is kind of more like water mass hysteria. That's why I like to call it because that stuff it grows fucking fast. It grows really fast. It's the same for water sprite. You'll walk away for like 2 days and you'll be like, whoa. And you chop and prop it. That's gonna be a term we use a lot here. Chop, prop, done. Because that's how easy to do. Take a step up. Is it with water wisteria or water sprite you can take? Is that both of them you can take a leaf cut of and it'll grow roots even? That's water wisteria, isn't it? Yeah, that's water
Yeah.
wisteria. Um, water wisteria, like a fucking leaf falls off it, it's growing a new plant. Like this is one of the easiest plants you can keep. And that one's a big recommendation, but also I don't recommend it for the same reason as Val. When it grows too well, you're gonna run into fertilization issues. You're gonna run into issues where there's plant die off at the bottom of the stems, and you could run yourself into some pretty hot water. Not hot water, more like ammonia ridden water if you don't clean that up. And I promise more maintenance is worth. So remember, not all plants you chop need to be replanted. Okay, this is something for some reason people like they start like falling. It's like Munchausen's, but for plants. They chop a plant and they just don't get rid of it. Here's what you're gonna do: you take those leaves, you take those leaves, you dry them out for like at least a day or two. I don't care how you do it. I really don't mind as long as they're fully crispened up and you throw them in a compost pile. That's gonna help your garden out front. Maybe your houseplants if you own those. We'll get the houseplants later, by the way, guys, for all of you on the edge of your seats for that. So something I like to say with all of these really fast growing plants, like especially hygrophila, however you say it, I don't really care. I prefer the Dustin's Fish Tanks lower class Florida man way of saying hygrophila. Um, hygrophila God, I never mind. I hate it. Hygrophila. You know what? We're gonna pull for Google pronunciation of this. Hold on, I'm legitimately pulling it now. Wait, how do you pronounce this?
I, I, s-
Pronounce.
I say hygrophila. That's how I say
It doesn't sound right either.
it. I mean, hygrophila doesn't either, to be fair. Sounds like a Harry Potter spell.
There's no way it's literally pronounced hygrophila.
Is it actually?
It's pronounced hygrophila.
Oh my god. Okay. Hygrophila it is, guys.
I have finally settled the debate.
I guess
But
Dustin's Florida man way is the way.
oh yeah, I mean, and when is it not the way, really?
when it comes to dirt from his backyard.
It can work effectively if you try hard enough.
That's fair. That's fair.
One thing I like to remember in this hobby, um, when there is a will, there is a way.
Yeah, I mean
Especially doing that
I
will. If your
yeah,
granddad gives you a lot of money in his will, you got a
yeah.
good tank
I
coming
mean
from.
people were buying it, so can't really say anything to be fair.
I
Dustin's
mean, hey,
Dustin's did roll a good amount of bank from that, so
oh yeah, more bank than you can as well that you spent on a fish tank. He
oh
wanted
yeah.
you to buy a new lawnmower, but hey, okay. So then was granddad.
All right,
Feel bad for
moving
you.
moving back to Hygrophila.
Okay,
Uh,
moving back to hygrophila. Oh, God, that sounds horrible. Uh, hygrophila. It grows really, really fast. But here's the thing about like Hygrophila corymbosa. You know what we call it hygro from now on. Hygro corymbosa, when you like grow that plant like up to a substantial size, you start running into deficiency after deficiency after deficiency. And when you get enough of it, you're gonna be like, okay, I kind of hate the look of this plant because it's a big plant. Like people don't realize how big this bad boy is. It's big. I'm not a size queen or anything, but it's a big plant. Um, so
God, this is cursed. Fuck, man. We're leaving this
so
in. We're not cutting this out. No cuts.
oh yeah,
No cut podcast.
what are you gonna do? Ban me? Um,
All right. Continuing back on the topic, please.
um, yeah. So Hygrophila. What I recommend instead of Corymbosa is I salicifolia, something like that. It's called blue hygro. It's a bit more narrow leaf. It looks a bit neater. If you want something easier than that, yummy. You're gonna want to go with. Don't cut that one out.
I'm
That
not
needs some
going
use.
to.
Yeah, I'm gonna become a cough syrup addict. Um, when it comes to like easier hygrophilas, like narrow leaf ones, I'm gonna have to recommend Hygrophila angustifolia. That is a really nice, neat plant. You'll freaking love it. My only issue with Hygrophila is they look really ugly when you chop and prop them. They like just look disgusting. Here's my recommendation: chop the bottom, no, chop the top off, replant the top, remove the bottom, or else you're gonna have a bunch of ugly plants around your tank that are just like shooting out side auxiliaries. Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about auxiliary nodes. What the fuck? Auxiliary nodes. That doesn't feel right either. You know what? Fuck it. We're just gonna go with auxiliary nodes. My college professor right now is fucking like rolling like in his classroom right now, crying and screaming. Um, auxiliary nodes, they're basically when you chop a plant and two plants come out of that point where you chopped. It's like Hydra. Okay? Not the bad type of Hydra, not the
A
freshwater
dragon.
jellyfish. Yeah, the dragon, or not the Captain America fuckers either. Those guys were bad dudes. Nazis are bad. So when we're talking, sorry to any neo Nazis in the chat. I don't like you guys. Um,
Okay, okay. Moving on. Moving on.
um, Hygrophila and Gustifolia. Wait, what are we talking about? Hygrophila auxiliary nodes. Woohoo! It's kind of like Hydra. You chop that node, then two plants pop out. You chop those again, two. It's just like my ex-boyfriends. You break up with one, two more appear. What are you gonna do? Take both of them? No, you're gonna choose neither. Anyway, so you take those, you replant those only when they get to like 3 to 6 inches, then you get rid of that ugly stem because it's not gonna do you much favors anymore. It's just gonna sit there and decompose like the ex-boyfriend I didn't choose. So, and something that like produces like really good Auxiliary nodes. I'm gonna hit my vape real quick. I need this. I need that after this conversation. All right. So like something that produces really good auxiliary nodes is Pogo Stamon. Now I have not blessed you guys with a knowledge of the easiness of Pogo Stamon Stellatus Octopus, big name, and the guy who fucking made that name can't count for shit because there's like four petals, maybe. But that plant grows fast. It gets purple, which some of you will like because this is a very male dominated hobby. So some little splash of colors in there. It's very nice every once in a while. Get yourself some of that. It grows fast. Pair that with some Hygrophila angustifolia, and you're set for the rest of your life. You can go like on a vacation to Peru or something like that. Bring a knife. Not on TSA, but bring a knife to Peru. Just in case you get attacked by like a capybara or something. I don't know. Are capybaras carnivorous?
No, they're really shy. They
Really?
they yeah, they don't pull up, if you know what I mean.
I don't know. I've seen some of those fuckers driving cars. Like one of them pulls out the blicky on me. Uh, is
Who
blicky
knows,
a
man?
term? What?
Capybaras are mysterious creatures that we do not question.
Oh, okay, good. They're unnecessary. Um, so they're unnecessary, just like people who put betas in 1 gallon tanks.
Oh
Start.
Christ.
Anyway, back to the next topic. What the fuck were we talking about? Easy aquarium plants.
Yeah, we were on something about Pogostemon stellatus octopus.
Pogo Stamon are hot. There you go.
Yeah, there you
Next
go.
topic.
Next topic. All right.
Um,
uh,
it can, no. Next plant. My bad. Echinoderus, Amazon swords, Echinoderus bulhari, Echinoderus compacta. Fuck, even get some rosette swords in there. What are they? Who knows? They are good plants for you. They grow big though, so I recommend you have a 20-gallon aquarium or bigger, and you got yourself a lot of fertilizer because that fucker is gonna grow to the size of a basketball. And if you have a 5-gallon, it's gonna take over your room. Say goodbye to your little sister Martha, because that Amazon sword needs to eat. Not your little Martha, maybe your little brother Timmy or something, but hopefully not Martha. God bless her. Um, so Amazon swords, really good aquarium plants. They grow big. They take up a lot of space. So if you have like a 55-gallon, like if you're a newbie, you're starting with a 55-gallon. Good for you. I want to give you a smooch on the cheek or something. Because that is a really good starting size for you. 20-gallon as well. Once again, not a size queen over here. So 20-gallon is pretty good for you. 33 longs are also great. So those are some good tank sizes. Sorry for like drifting off topic with the tank sizes, but I'm just like recommending them for these plant size. Because when you gotta remember with plant size with plants also comes tank size. Like I'm not telling you to throw a pogo stem on a hygrophila, a kenderis, 5 crypt tissue cultures, Bacopa moniaria, Lysimachia numalaria, 2 doves and a partridge and a pear tree in a 5-gallon. Like, I'm not asking you to do that. If you do that, you will probably run into disaster very fast. I said partridge and pear tree because I forgot the name of Vallisneria, and partridge and the pear tree was the closest I could come to it, so just remember that.
good
Um,
enough.
you good enough? All right. Wow. Next topic. I forgot to say my favorite fish. Oops.
Yeah. What's your favorite fish? Here we go. You
I
good?
really like gobies. Yeah,
Gobies.
I just really like, yeah, gobies.
Okay. All right.
How to say
Moving
that?
on to like the next topic. Well,
What's a goby?
let's not like fully move on. Let's stick to the aquatic plants for a bit more.
Oh yeah, of
Um,
course.
nutrients. What type of
Nutrients.
fertilizers? What fertilizers do you recommend? Like all that, basically.
Okay, so for all you dum dums in the back that don't listen to me, plants need fertilizer. I don't care if you have bioload. Well, bioload doesn't provide molybdenum, Martha. God bless Martha. Um, and so here's the thing with fertilizers, okay? They have a lot of nutrients that your fish don't like producing good enough amounts for your plants. And my favorite fertilizer is Nilo CG by Thrive. Fuck that up. Thrive by Nilo CG. It's a great great fertilizer for pretty much any plant, any tank size. You really can't screw up with this. Here's my advice. Read the fucking directions, okay? It's not gonna kill your shrimp. It's not gonna kill your family. Just read the directions on the bottle. It says on the back. It's like what, 1 pump per 10 gallons?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, 1 pump per 10 gallons. Okay, that isn't that hard. If you have a 5 gallon, cut it in half. You have a 2.5 gallon, just do a tiny little pump. It's not that, once again, not that hard. And you do that a certain amount of times per week, and guess what? You're gonna have some pretty damn healthy plants. Now, my second favorite, not by choice, but just because it's literally the exact same thing as Thrive, except Corey from Aquarium Co-op, that capitalist bastard, stole it. Um, Aquarium Co-op Easy Green. Now, if you're too scared to Thrive by Nilo CG because some person on Amazon said he killed his fish, Aquarium Co-op Easy Green is the way to go for you. It's one thing I don't like about Easy Green, however, is a bit higher in phosphate, which I mentioned about phosphates earlier. You gotta have the right blend of potassium. Aquarium Co-op Easy Green does not have that. It is absolutely shameful that they cannot figure that out yet, but it causes algae a bit more often. It's not gonna cause green waters, it's gonna cause green spot algae and green dust out. Yeah, green dust algae, and those are really annoying algae. They're the easiest to clean. Well, green spot algae is like really annoying to clean, but they're not. It's not like really obvious compared to like diatoms or something like that. I just burped. That was hot. Um, so like when we're talking diatoms, green spot algae, green dust algae, those are going to be by far the types you're going to encounter with Aquarium Co-op Easy Green. So, and then my third favorite, just because it's so unknown, it's gonna be APT complete. I have to make sure I have the right website for this. Um, Hold on, as soon as my freaking internet decides to. So yes, it is 2 hour Aquarist all-in-one aquarium plant fertilizer. This stuff is magic in a fucking bottle. Okay, it's not well known. A lot of people don't use it. I mean, it's on Amazon now, but it used to be very hard to find. So APT Complete, it's magic in a bottle. I highly recommend it. I also highly recommend if you have like more questions about like aquarium plants, go to 2 Hour Aquarius, 2houraquarius.com or like DM me because we both go really in depth and I absolutely love 2 Hour Aquarius. I think it's one of the best websites out there for like your more complex plants or understanding things basically. So APT Complete is magic in a bottle. It's my favorite fertilizer. Before beginners, I always shoot with the Thrive by Nilo CG and Aquarium Co-op Easy Green just because they're well known and they're and people are less hesitant to get that. Now Seek and Flourish can go fuck itself. Okay, if you buy Flourish, that's soy sauce. I did an experiment 2 years ago. A user in the server named Brendan told me Flourish is soy sauce. Now, at the time, I was a big Seacom backer. I've been using Seacom since 10 years ago. I love that stuff. You know what happened? I decided to use soy sauce instead of Seacom Flourish. And Seacom's gonna like sue me for slander here, but soy sauce did better than frickin' Seacom Flourish. Aside from my water getting cloudy, soy sauce did a pretty damn good job. So I might be onto something with Seacom being soy sauce. So thank Brendan for that.
Oh god, here comes the
Yeah,
slander.
well, I'm not slandering Brendan. He did say that. Hold on.
Oh,
Oh,
no, no,
let's
no.
see.
I meant like slandering brands.
Oh well, what was called an unnamed big aquarium brand?
Yeah, well, we'll censor out the name.
Yeah, so censor out the name. Unnamed aquarium brand. I hate your stuff a lot. You guys are grifters, okay? Half of your website is malarkey. You guys are when the police investigate themselves and find they did nothing wrong. You got your laboratory results, they're not good. I'm a big brand name aquarium thing hater. I don't like Prime. I don't believe in the science behind it. They said there's something called amidium salts in them. It's either they're using ammonium salts, which are used for diarrhea, which might actually be likely because they're spouting out mouth diarrhea with half what they say, or they are lying and using pseudoscience. And I'm not a big fan of pseudoscience. I like science. And the problem with aquariums is a lot of it is pseudoscience because people just like to think they know what they're talking about. Me, I have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. If you want to use this unnamed big aquarium brand's products, go ahead. I just don't like them because I don't like their laboratory reports. So never use their fertilizer and don't use any of their other plant products. Uh Unnamed big aquarium plants CO2 supplements thing. Don't use that. It's not going to work out for you. It works out in very specific service circumstances. The active chemical they use is glutaraldehyde, and in saltwater lakes with deep substrates, it is shown to increase CO2 content in the lakes. Here's the thing: your aquarium is not a lake. If you have a big 120 or 400-gallon aquarium, okay, you have about a 8-inch substrate bed with dirt, you're gonna have luck with this product. You have to use it with the lights off and everything like that for it to work. It's not worth the risk. Not even. I should say yes, the risk, because glutaraldehyde does have some pretty nasty effects, including in zebra danios. It caused liver failure. Ah, God, what else? And kidney disease. So I recommend not using that product often. Now, you gotta keep in mind with that study, they use the extreme amount of the product, but over time, I don't know what it does if it builds up on the fish or if it just decomposes naturally. I don't know that information. It is used as a surgical sterilizer, so I have to assume it does decompose in light, but I would not recommend using that product. Honestly, if you know the brand I'm talking about, there's a lot better out there for you. As for dechlorinator, uh, Ryu, your dechlorinating salts, what are they called?
Seachem safe. Hello?
I'm sorry, what brand did you just say?
Fuck it. We can leave it in. If anyone has any arguments against what is said against this brand, come at me. I will
Yeah, or
answer to
come to me.
I will answer your messages if you have
I,
any. Leave a comment. Leave a comment down below if you have an issue with what we're saying. But
search in the
Seachem
screen.
Seachem safe, the overpowered version of uh this thing called Seachem Prime, and the powdered version
Yeah,
too.
I recommend using that. And here's why. It's more bang for your buck. All right. Now, the best way, dechlorinate water. Get ready for this. And some of you are not gonna like my opinion. This all depends on your local water report. If you don't feel safe doing this, do not do it.
You cannot sue us
Okay?
for this because
Yeah, you can sue us.
we have given you warnings. So we are giving you warnings.
If you sue us for your fish dying because you took advice from a YouTube podcast, your money is not better spent going to a lawyer. It's better spent going to therapy. Anyway, so sorry. Um, when we're talking this method, it's not dechlorinating your water. And you may be like behind your screen seething and painting, but this is why, okay? Most most cities you don't need to dechlorinate your water. I kid you not. Believe it or not, you have forgotten to dechlorinate your water. Whether you like it or not, you have. You can be like, no, I have a timer and everything. So no, you have forgotten before. And guess what? Your fish are fine. And you may be like, well, doesn't chlorine instantly kill fish? No. In high amounts it does, sure, but go to any swimming pool and you will see that there are frogs all the time in swimming pools. And why do you think this is? Amphibians are some of the most like porous creatures on Earth, okay? And they absorb toxins better than any fish. And there are frogs everywhere at your swimming pool. They're not dying. They're swimming around just fine. They return the next day. If you have a swimming pool in your backyard, you know this. You probably have some backyard frogs that you know and love. Chlorine isn't as dangerous or as we think. In fact, chlorine is a very volatile chemical. if you splash your water a bunch, like for like an hour, you've removed pretty much all the chlorine in that water. That's how volatile chlorine is. So imagine it going from your city's water system all the way through your pipes and out your sink, which is like oftentimes like shooting the water at a very aerated speed. Your chlorine is pretty much going to be completely minimal. In fact, most cities they use chlorine. They just like use a bit more chlorine when they're getting inspected just to make sure it's up to par. And it sounds a bit messed up, but really you don't need a lot of chlorine to disinfect like those water tanks. In fact, most of them don't really need that much chlorine at all. Now, chloramine is where you run into issues, but I'm gonna roast this product real quick. Yeah, here we go. You know how this product says it detoxifies ammonia? So, what doesn't make sense to me, and I'm just gonna make sure that everything's right here. Hold on. Oh, fuck. I forgot the term for this. One second. Um, dude. Sorry, one second.
You're good. You're good.
So, all right. So we're gonna. Here's the thing, and people are really scared for this. You gotta remember, dechlorinators are not instant. They are not. They take a minute or two, and a lot of you have just poured some dechlorinator and thought it was good. If you have to use dechlorinator, you're not good. But once again, your fish are safe. That's why I say don't dechlorinate your water. Some of these dechlorinators can actually be bad about this. Um, some people say the reaction is like instant, which it is. The minute it hits the water, it starts doing the work on chlorine. Um, but here's the thing: people don't. This product in particular says that it removes ammonia. Now, here's the thing about ammonia and chlorine. You got to remove chlorine and ammonia by entirely separate methods. Okay, ammonia you have to like oxidize it, everything like that. So it wouldn't make sense to have a reducing agent to get rid of chlorine and have an oxidizer. If you have an oxidizer and a reducing agent in the same thing, guess what you get? You get water. So it's either Secum Prime is water or it doesn't say what it does. The thing about chloramine is it produces a byproduct called ammonia when it is dechlorinated. Now you may be a bit scared about this, like, oh, ammonia, I'm shaking my sleeve. You gotta remember, this is why I say don't dechlorinate. Unless you're doing 100% water changes, you're already diluting that ammonia level and that chlorine by so much that within a day, or not even a day, within 8 hours with your filters running, maybe your air stone, you're not going to have issues. Now, if you feel safety chlorinated, go ahead. Okay. As for ammonia, that's going to get pretty much instantly zapped by your nitrifying bacteria. That's not going to be an issue. Um, One of the big worries for chlorine is it kills beneficial bacteria. But anyone can tell you if you like look at your city's water reports, guess what happens? They check for bacteria, and oftentimes there is some bacteria in those water pipes. Chlorine does not kill bacteria as well as like people think it does. It reduces the amount of bacteria strongly, but it really doesn't kill as much as people think it does. Especially when it comes to nitrifying bacteria, you're really not going to have that. Guess what? You want to know why algae grows in swimming pools? It's because, they can feed on ammonia, nitrogen, all that stuff in there because it has bacteria. So that's the one thing about chlorine. You guys need to stop fearing chlorine because some of these dechlorinators, they can be pretty bad for your fish. I really don't know the research on this. You can look up, I recommend The Secret History Living Inside Your Aquarium of Dechlorinators because some of them can cause reproductive issues. If you're breeding fish, you don't want to use dechlorinator. Now, here's what I'm gonna recommend. If you're one of those people, you're really scared of hurting fish, okay? Here's what you gotta do. Get yourself one of those UV sterilizers on Amazon. And you may be like, well, a UV sterilizer, doesn't that just kill algae? No, it doesn't. You see, chlorine it gets dechlorinated through a process called photolysis with UV light. If you were passing through pure UV light in the back of your filter or maybe a separate thing, you can even toss this UV light in a bucket for 5 minutes and your water will be dechlorinated. I know this because I have to dechlorinate my water personally, and I don't like dechlorinators because I think a lot of them really don't do the best job or they just are costly in the long run. This UV sterilizer, it's a one-time investment. You can get them on Amazon for like what, $20 roughly?
Yeah, it's like depending on like what the wattage is on it. Yeah, they're roughly like $20. If you're gonna go for
Yeah,
like a higher quality brand or in quotation marks higher quality brand, it's gonna cost you a couple like maybe 100. Especially those like inline ones. Talking like the Fluval
yeah.
inline ones. Those are awesome by the way. I do recommend them. I'm not a huge supporter of Fluval myself, but inline UV sterilizers, amazing. Especially if you use canister filters.
Oh yeah, inline UV sterilizers, they are freaking awesome. I love the Fluval ones. They're really nice. So I'm not sponsored by Fluval or anything. I am a big backer of Fluval brand. I like their tanks mainly. I think their tanks are really convenient for newbies, like the Fluval EBI, the Fluval the fuck is their other one called? Evo? Not the fucking Evo. The rectangular one. Fuck. The Fluval Flex. I think. I think they're really easy for newbies to set up. I think they're really nice looking as well. I mean, if you have a different stance on Fluval, go ahead, have a different stance. But I think like one thing I really like about Fluval, their biomedia. I hate sponges. I hate sponges for biomedia. Ask anyone. I hate them. Fluval uses ceramic balls that come with it. It's really nice. It's really sweet. Um, so anyway, back to chlorination. UV sterilizers, they pretty much dechlorinate very fast, especially when you get a cheap one on Amazon. I use like a cheap $15 one. I throw it in the bucket of water for like 5 minutes just to be safe if I really want to. I could toss it in there for 30 seconds, it'd be fine. I pour in my tank, everything is just fine in there. Now, one thing you're gonna know and you're gonna freak out a bit, and you're gonna be like, well, they're a massive scam. Secum Flourish has chlorine in it. Did you know this?
No, I did not.
See, chlorine is a micronutrient for plants. Okay,
Okay.
so your plants they're also gonna like a little bit of chlorine, just a little bit, because like I said, you're diluting that chlorine amount heavily. All plant fertilizers have chlorine in it, and guess what? It's not killing your fish. And that's when I bring up that like people freak out over it, like, oh, chlorine's like, the chlorine is not the boogeyman. The real boogeyman is chloramine. Chloramine is a bit harder, but like I said, unless you have like a ridiculously high amount, if your water comes out smelling like a swimming pool, you're gonna want to use dechlorinator, and you're also gonna want to let that water kind of sit the night before, run an air stone in there to kind of off gas some of that ammonia. Because like a lot of people they tell me this happened like 2 weeks ago, I think. I was talking about this like in the server, and someone said to me, that their water comes out smelling like a swimming pool. I'm like, you should get your water quality checked. And and like later, someone reached out to me saying the same thing. And I checked their water quality report, and they had a bunch of chloramines. And the thing about your water smelling like a swimming pool, it's urea, it's that stuff, it's ammonia that smells like that. So always, always freaking dechlorinate if your water smells like a swimming pool. I cannot stress that enough. If you feel safer dechlorinating, dechlorinate. But if you feel fine, you feel like you're an experienced keeper, go ahead, get yourself like a UV sterilizer if you want to be 100% safe. Other than that, you're gonna be mostly fine.
Alrighty.
What Yeah, what was the topic we were?
We started on we were on
Nutrients
nutrients.
needed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I know there's a few of you guys out there, you fancy ass high tech motherfuckers. What is it? Estimative index. That's what it is. EI butterfly, Rotala butterfly, something like that.
I'm
EI.
gonna get a lot of hate
Estimative
for my.
index.
I'm gonna get a lot of hate for my opinion. I don't like EI at all. I don't. So here's my thing with EI. I had an EI tank. I had nothing but issues in that tank, and I was always told I'm doing EI wrong. I used their calculator. I was told I was doing wrong, and this is a common thing. Most people don't succeed with EI. A lot of people give up on it for some reason. And I'm like, well, why would you give up on such a great thing? I mean, I'm just having problems with it, but it seems to be a common problem, especially at the beginning. I'm not gonna roast Tom Barr. I really like Tom Barr's knowledge. I do not like EI, however. I think it works in specific circumstances, like if you have a very high CO2 tank with a lot of plants, everything like that, you're not gonna have issues. But like EI, you're sitting there, you're balancing your tank constantly, you're trying to figure out the perfect balance, and especially with newer tanks, using EI is asking for disaster. And the thing is, a lot of people who start EI, they get green water. And I always hear, oh, well, green water is caused by ammonia. And no, I've never believed that. Green water really isn't caused by nearly anything. I would just open the books with this. Like I'm gonna throw the book at some people here. Green water, we really don't know the cause of it. We know it's excess nutrients and excess light, but we don't know why exactly it's caused. There is science to say ammonia opens the spores, but you gotta remember there's ammonia constantly in your fish tank, a little amount, so any amount of ammonia will cause green water. EI, green water, very common thing with it, and it's always blamed on ammonia or uncycled tank, unready tank. I believe EI is for people with very established tanks. Now, when we're getting into EI, and this is very complicated, um, you're gonna want to get your basic nutrients. Now, personally, I really, really like going on Greenleaf Aquarium's GOA. Also, check out their plant selection, by the way. They have great tissue culture prices. My only shame with them, and they have great plants too. Their potted plants are really nice. My only issue is their shipping is expensive, and like I got mine in the middle of winter, so everything was just frozen over. But even frozen over, my plants did really well from them, so I recommend them highly. You get some of their like fertilizer containers. Okay, what's the I believe
Slush pup.
not slush pop.
No, I know.
I'm thinking no, I'm thinking of something else. Not like who recommends it. Slush Pup, by the way, very knowledgeable plant dude. He's not online as often, but when I used to talk to him, he was absolutely fantastic with his knowledge, and I loved how much he taught me about aquarium plants. Slush Pup, you're kind of my hero. Your tanks are amazing. So low shout out to Slush Pup. Um, and so when we're talking like uh what the fuck? I think Nilo CG does make their own like powdered fertilizer.
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah.
1 second, I actually probably have the bag. I'm gonna go check. I'm gonna go fact check myself.
All
I'm about
right.
deep. I'm about to debunk myself. Let's see. Oh God, my mint plant is pissed at me. That's okay. All right. Yes, I am right. Nilo CG does produce their own fertilizer salts, and I don't like their micro mix. I don't think it mixes well, so I recommend GOA's micro mix. Don't ever try and separate micros. That's just stupid. I've heard people like saying it saves you money. No, you just look like a big dumb idiot because you're gonna be chasing deficiencies literally constantly. Get one pre-mix for you. And you're gonna want to get your nitrogen, phosphate, and potassium. Now everyone's like a bit scared of phosphate. I encourage you, do not be scared of phosphate. I mentioned this earlier that does cause algae, but that's only in excess. Sorry, I'm like putting the fertilizer powder back. So that is only in excess. If you compensate extra phosphate with potassium, you're going to get fantastic plant growth because phosphate also helps carry nitrate. So if you plant for chemical like to explain plant nutrients like in a short little podcast, like this would have to be like its own feature length podcast. But I'll explain it in the most basic terms possible. We're only going to talk about the three big ones here: N, P, and K. So you need potassium to carry the phosphate, you need phosphate to carry the nitrogen, and then Potassium also delivers the nitrogen. So those are the three essential ones that may be in the right order. It's something like that, okay? Don't quote me on that. I'm a bit tired. So when you're talking that amount, you wanna up potassium. No, it's potassium carries the phosphate to deliver the nitrogen. There we go. So you want to up potassium with phosphate because you're going to get a more enhanced delivery system if you use a bit more phosphate and potassium. Believe it or not, m- most aeroids in the hobby, cryptocorin, lagonandra, schismoglottis, iridarium, bucephalandra, anubius, they appreciate a bit more phosphate compared to nitrogen. And that's because they have these very advanced rhizomes. They require a lot of phosphate. Phosphate is like your lumber, okay? It's the big building blocks. It builds your like woody branches. So quite literally it's lumber. It builds your rhizomes. It builds your roots. So when you have those and phosphate is pretty much infinite, you're gonna have yourself a really good, strong, healthy plant. If you're selling, you're gonna want to up that nitrogen so you get more foliage growth. But if you just have a planted tank, you want to up that phosphate a bit. And phosphate, it's a scary one to work with. I'm not gonna lie. Eutrophication is a concern with too much phosphate, but you're never gonna get to that point unless you're really, really, really trying, or you're really, 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 really stupid. And I hate to call people stupid, but sometimes people are, okay? So when we're talking those chemicals, uh, I'm gonna recommend that you do a lot of research into what exactly you're putting into your aquarium. Use the Rotala butterfly calculator. Find out what parts per million. It's a lot of trial and error. What I recommend you do, and this was my biggest mistake, get yourself an actual measuring scale. Don't use a teaspoon from your kitchen like I did. Um, So get yourself an actual measuring scale, get yourself a good mixer, mix that in bottles, and write down results. If you keep trying and error and you have nothing to reference to other than your memory, if your memory is wrong more often than you think, guess what's gonna happen? You're gonna have really, really sad, unhealthy plants. And you're gonna be stuck in that constant thing of balancing out EI. It's not gonna be fun for you. I don't recommend it. Micros, I don't want you guys to be scared of, but micros, they are a bit scary when it comes to Ultrananthera species. Oh, there's something called microtoxicity, and microtoxicity is when you micronutrients too high. No, the reason why they're called micronutrients is because plants need very, very little of them. Too much, and you run into issues. See, if you've ever dealt with terrestrial plants, which we're gonna talk about terrestrial plants later, by the way. I think I already mentioned that.
So, about the terrestrial plants, let's do a separate podcast for that. Just because
Oh,
we are about to hit the hour mark on this one.
holy shit, are we?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, when I have some more rare plants and stuff, I got DM Garrett, by the way, after this. So cut this part out. But one of the terrestrial plants, is there any way we could do, like, I could show photos?
Yeah, when we do like the other next podcast, yeah, we can do like photos and I'll like throw them up on the screen, like wham, bam, do some like fancy ass editing. You know what I mean? Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah, let's
Beautiful.
back onto the
All
topic though.
right, back on the topic. So I'm just gonna throw this in. You don't have to edit this part out. To terrestrial plants. We're gonna do that next. We're gonna do that some other podcast. Sorry for this point. I said we're gonna do it earlier, but I realized I've been talking for a lot. I talk a lot, guys. Sorry. So microtoxicity, it's kind of like when you overwater your terrestrial plants. You have too much of it, and now the plant can't do anything. It's kind of the same. EI is basically, I like to think of it as a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. You don't have enough nitrogen, your phosphate and potassium aren't going to do anything, and it's just going to be sitting there cause algae. You have too much nitrogen, not enough phosphate and potassium, your nitrate can't do anything. The same with micros. You add too much of that, your plant is still trying to like it's basically like eating a bunch of sugar. You're going to throw up. You're going to want to feel sick. Your body's not going to feel well, and you really can't process any other nutrient for the rest of the day. That's what's gonna happen to your plants. Alternanthera, it gets those crinkly, gross leaves when it has too much micros. Sometimes there is no fixing this. If your tap water comes out that way, it just comes out that way. There is no fixing that. But Alternanthera, a huge, huge indicator. I recommend you use indicator plants for EI. Now, what are indicator plants? They're plants that tell you when your nutrients are deficient before it affects the other plants too much. And a really good one is Mayaka. It's a fuzzy plant. It's very fluffy. It's very cute, and it gets these pale white tips when your iron is low. It's a really good iron indicator because it gets those before any other plant does. So you know, oh, I need to up my micros a tiny bit. And over time, you will learn to kind of train with that plant, and you won't see those white tips anymore. You want indicator plants like Hygrophila corymbosa is a really, really good one because it tells you pretty much anything because those leaves are so big that you see a deficiency from a mile away. You got too little nitrogen, you can see that from a mile away. You get stunted growth, yellow, all that stuff. And if you've ever kept house plants before, you will know what nitrogen deficiency looks like. There's very good deficiency charts out there. They're pretty much the same for aquatic plants. There are some exceptions, like Hygrophila lancea araguaia comes to mind. If that plant doesn't have enough nutrients, it just kind of stops growing. It doesn't even get stunted growth or anything. No pale tips, nothing like that. No chlorosis, just stops. Not a good indicator plant because you have no fucking clue what's wrong with it. So, but basically, it is kind of indicator plant because if you look at it, you know, like, hey, I'm low on my nutrients. Um, as for CO2, don't be scared of it. Don't be. I recommend you start with a fishless tank with CO2 so you can learn to dial that in. Personally, I crank my CO2 to the max because I have a shit ton of lighting, and we're gonna talk about lighting in a second. But CO2, 1 to 2 bubbles per second for a lot of tanks is more than enough. Remember, this is not CO2 to make your plants grow. This is additional CO2 to help your plants grow. It's not to make your plants grow, it's to help your plants grow better and for certain sensitive plants. So just remember, you're adding some CO2 to your water. You're not trying to give CO2 to your water, you're adding it on top of already ambient CO2. I don't like drop checkers. I personally prefer the pH method. See where your pH drops. If you get a 1 pH drop, you're good to go. If you get more than 1 pH drop, get your fish out of there. What the fuck are you doing? That's basically the best way to do it. And I recommend you get yourself an electronic pH meter for this. You can get them at most saltwater aquarium shops and stuff like that. I think, right, Rio? You can confirm on that one for me.
What's up?
Electronic pH meters.
Uh,
You
they're
get them.
they're decent. You can definitely get them on Amazon. I think Vivo Sun makes them. They're like 12 bucks, 10,
All
12
right, can you
bucks.
get them at like fish shops? Or
Some do have them, but some don't.
yeah, I think that's more
The
saltwater things.
yeah, it's a expertise saltwater thing. Not really.
Okay, so yeah, scratch that. You can't get your fish shop. Go support Daddy Bezos and buy some off of Amazon. Um, wow. So when you gain that amount, you're gonna want to have that electronic pH meter so you can check things really, really, really fast. Because I promise you, those API pH tests, if you're having a serious issue and you need to check your pH real quick because you're uncertain, shaking that is gonna hurt your hand a lot. You're gonna get carpal tunnel, sweetie. I'm not kissing that wrist better. So when it comes down to that stuff, get yourself something electronic. I recommend that you get these three things when you start in CO2. One, a DIY CO2 kit. Everyone's against these, but I like them for beginners because you kind of learn and don't get the fucking yeast ones. That should be the yeast of your concerns. Don't fucking buy this one. Get I'm hilarious. I think myself laugh all the time. Citric acid and baking soda one. Very easy. You get to dial you get to learn a bit more about pressurized, it lasts way longer. And you get to dial in things a bit easier without like all the cost of diving straight into solenoids. Um, and my second thing, electronic pH meter. This is very nice for me. They're kind of more pricey, but I don't regret getting them, especially like if you're gonna get a saltwater tanks and stuff. It makes life a bit easier on you. And my third thing, um, a good diffuser. I mean, like, what's a good diffuser? Get yourself a nice glass one, and make sure you're not the idiot who breaks them every 2 weeks like I do. An even easier way to diffuse CO2 super cheap. Get yourself a limewood air stone, right? That's what those are called. It's wooden air stones. Yeah, wooden air stone, and they make tiny, 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 tiny bubbles that diffuse CO2 super easily. They're great for it. I recommend them highly, especially for a beginner who's just getting into things. As for lighting, which I've been talking way too long. Um, so lighting, night crews, they're great. If you get two night crews on a CO2 tank, you're gonna have no issues. I grew a tank with three night crews on top of it. It could grow nearly anything. Now, if you're going into more high tech and you're like planning to like be super radical like I am, get yourself like a nice big grow light. Like I recommend this one on Amazon. It's like $40. I don't remember the exact name of it. I can probably send you the link later. Throw that on top of the tank. You're gonna get ample plant growth. They're really cheap. They do you a lot. They get some great colors out of them. So I highly recommend grow lights. Not the purple ones. Get yourself like a yellow one or a white one just for aesthetic purposes. And you can get them up to like 600 par. So you're going for those reds, stuff like that. You can get a lot out of. 600 par sounds like a lot. Oh, par. I should talk about par. Par is photosynthetically active radiation. If you have an Android phone, you can get yourself a lux meter. As for lux, you're gonna want to take that number. You're gonna want to put that in 3 points of your tank. You want to put it at the bottom of your substrate, the middle of your tank, and the top of your tank. Get those three readings, and then take the lux number and divide it by 45. Then you get par. The reason why I say 45 is because this is the basic universal number for most spectrums in the aquarium hobby. Unless you have specialty lights like Chihiros, this 45 is still going to be a great number. Let's take that lux divided by 45, you get your par. Par is photosynthetically active radiation. For highlight plants, you want near 100 par at that substrate. Maybe even 150, 200, even fucking better. For medium light plants in your middle, you want about 100 par. For very highlight stem plants, you want always something above 200, 250 at that medium. At the top, you want near 400 to 600. That's going to be your ideal numbers for getting the colors you want and the best growth possible. I can tell you this much, with that grow light on my 2.5 gallon, my Rotala grew like absolute crazy. I had too much of it. I was like nearly throwing it away. So that's definitely my big recommendation. Do not cheap out on lights. Okay, lights make your plants grow. Lights diffuse your CO2. If you have a crap light and you use CO2, you run the risk of gassing your fish very easily or getting really crappy algae or getting really crappy growth. Do not ever cheap out on lights if you are going high tech. As for low tech, you can cheap out a bit, get yourself some night crews. If you want to cheap out on high tech, get yourself a grow light or get yourself three night crews. Like I said, don't try and get away with it. Here's the thing with high tech compared to low tech. Low tech, you can say you can get away with something. If you were trying to say you can get away with something in high tech, I'm telling you to not do that because you can easily wipe out all your fish because you try to be cheap. Save some money, get yourself something nice, okay? Do not, and I cannot stress enough, please, please do not be the person that I have to talk to about how to help your fish after they got gassed by CO2. I don't want to hear a horror story because you did something poor. I like Chihiro's lights a lot because they're very pretty and they're very user friendly. So if you can't get yourself Chihiro's light, please do that. But other than that, my recommendations are that grow light or a couple night crews, and your tank will do just fine. Stacking lights is a very cheap way of well, it's relatively the same cost in the long run, but if you're one of those people like me who like used to live paycheck to paycheck, stacking a couple lights, buying like a $20 light here, $20 light. If you're one of those people with bad spending issues, get that. It'll look a bit better on your bank account. You'll feel a bit better thinking you save money, even though you save really no money. I'm just gonna be brutally honest with you. So we're talking that you're gonna want to stack your lights, and By stacking that, I don't mean stack them on top of each other, you idiot. Put three on top of your tank and it'll kind of like row like one there, one there, one there. You want one in the back of your tank, one in the middle, one in the front. That's how it's gonna work. It's gonna look really pretty. It's gonna look really bright too. So just just so you know, advance. And you want to take your lux meter, see those levels, see if you need a fourth light. Generally, you can get away with three, but four is even better if you can do that. If you can't do that, you can't do that. So that's it for lighting. Use a lux meter. Use your resources as well. Try and find on the internet their power values. You can find most power values on the internet if you look hard enough. Okay, so we're about how long are we in?
An hour and 10 minutes. So if you wanna kind of like finish up everything, we can do like an outro here and then call it.
Let's just get some aquarium maintenance in there very quickly.
I mean, we could
Do you
always
think?
do is we can do like a slight like quick interval of it, but I wouldn't go too in depth with it. Just
Yeah, I
just
want
so
to
we
go
can
in
do
depth
like
with these.
just so we can do
So
like another episode with it.
yeah, let's just do another episode. Let's save those for another episode.
Awesome then.
All right, let's do an outro.
Alrighty. Thank you everyone for watching. If you guys are still here, comment below. Let's do your favorite plant. That lets me know that you've been here listening along this entire time. I want to give a massive thank you to Sloan for coming on the podcast, of course, and kind of talking about all these topics. Of course, we're going to do more in the future with Sloan, most
Yeah,
likely next week if possible. We'll cover the terrestrial plants for all you terrestrial keepers. But again, huge thank you and shout out to Sloan for coming onto the podcast tonight. And
yeah,
do you have anything you wanna say before we cut it here?
yeah, totally. Thank you for 4 years in AC. It was absolutely great talking and meeting all of you. I hope some of my advice or rambling, I should say, helped some of you guys get some thoughts about what you want to do next to your tanks. As always, if you need help, add me on Discord, Sloan hashtag 9028. I will accept your friend request and just DM me with plant questions. Responses take 8 to 10 business days, but I promise you I will get there eventually. I love you all a lot, but not in the weird way. I want to marry some of you at least. If you guys have like a good plant, like a good rare plant that's your favorite plant, marriage is on the table. All right, other than that, bye guys.
All right. Thank you everyone for watching once again. This is Ryu, your host, and I hope everyone has a good morning, good day, or good afternoon, or good night even. Anyways, have a good one, guys.
Peace.